All right. I'm just waiting here just a second just to see if we can get some people coming in. Okay. Sorry, folks. Just trying to figure this thing out right here. Why does it keep doing that on my screen? I'll tell you what, don't start streaming if you don't know how to use a computer. It's maybe... Okay. I think we should be ready to go here just in a moment. And yeah. Going to hold off just a second, and then we're gonna be getting in some of these here topics. All right, we got a whole bunch of different transfer rumors going about, some stuff that's been reported by the one and only Fabrizio Romano that needs to be covered, needs to be talked about, and we're gonna get into all of that. It's absolutely downpouring outside, so hopefully you can't hear that coming through, but I apologize if you can. There's nothing I can do about that right now. All right. I'm just making sure that everything is good up and running on YouTube, and then I'm going to get started on this. Okay. So, arguably the biggest news story that's been coming out is obviously the Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike story that's been going on with both Liverpool and Newcastle. Now, it got reported on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, by Fabrizio Romano. It read yesterday at around 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in America. Liverpool have made a club-to-club approach with Newcastle to discuss a record bid for Alexander Isak. If Isak won't be available, Liverpool can enter the Ekitike race. Decision is up to Newcastle as to whether or not they wanted to sell Isak, plus offer a new deal. Now, obviously, Liverpool approaching Alexander Isak is on the heels of Hugo Ekitike having a bid put in by Newcastle to Frankfurt. I believe the reported initial bid was upwards of 70 million euros. Maybe it was something less. I apologize. When it comes to the whole transfer or currency in Europe, whether it be pounds to euros, as a American, I'm just completely lost. But nevertheless, roughly around 70 million was bid for Hugo Ekitike, and it was turned down. Now, once that this happened, Liverpool made an offer, apparently, to Newcastle, basically saying, we want Isak, if Isak's available, and if he's not, we're going to enter the Hugo Ekitike race. And now, obviously, if Liverpool are to enter into the Ekitike race, you would assume, and yes, obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, and this is not me trying to become biased, but if Liverpool enter the race for Ekitike, you'd probably assume we would win that over Newcastle. I'm sure that he would rather come to Liverpool coming off a Premier League winning season. rather than go to Newcastle, unfortunately. Although Newcastle beat us in the Carabao Cup final. Nice shades. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so in my personal opinion, I put this out on my TikTok yesterday. I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory when it comes to the Isak and Ekitike storyline or scenario. Now, first of all, this all started with Liverpool showing interest in Isak at the beginning of this transfer window. It probably went even at the end of the season once everyone knew that we had the league tied up. I believe that it was made known publicly that Liverpool were interested in Isak. Now, we made 3 huge signings, obviously. Frimpong, Kirkez, and Wirtz all came in. And it seemed as though while the Isak story was pretty hot, it, in my opinion, had seemed like it kind of settled down a little bit. And it was of my assumption, and probably a lot of other people's, that it wouldn't be happening this transfer window. Now, with that being said, I always in the back of my head thought that there was a possibility that Liverpool could be going in for Isak towards the tail end of the transfer window in August, maybe even early September. And I wouldn't be surprised if, obviously, Newcastle thought this as well. Now, following this, Newcastle make a bid in for Hugo Ekitike. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Ekitike and Isak have a very, very similar playing style. And unless they were planning on running a 4-4-2 in 2025, which I don't think that they did, it made absolutely no sense to try to sign 2 players with such similarities, so to speak. So for me, I thought it was kind of weird, and obviously the reports are that the bid got denied. The bid got denied, and then as this happens, Liverpool enters the race, says, we want either Isak, and if we're not going to get Isak, we're going for Ekitike. Now, everyone's been ranting and raving about how this has been picture perfect from Liverpool moving like this. And to a certain extent, I kind of agree. I think it's about damn time that as a club, we start acting like big boys and start throwing our weight around here a little bit. You know, it's all fine and good being, the classy club, but I do like when Liverpool starts throwing their weight around and going after players they want, even though their club says, yeah, he's not for sale. Now, I do think what a lot of people, while everyone's appreciated this from Liverpool, I think a lot of people have downplayed Newcastle's role in this entirely. Because I think Newcastle, I think Newcastle got ahead of a possible dangerous situation. I think there was a real possibility that Liverpool would have tried to swoop in for Isak at the end of the transfer window. And I think they put a bid out for Ekitike because Ekitike has been the number 2 option for Liverpool. So everyone's like, this is Liverpool saying, we're getting one of them, if not both. I think that this was Newcastle making a bid in for a player, showing interest in a player, because had that transfer gone through and Newcastle brought in Ekitike, they would have held all the cards. They would have had both of the players that Liverpool wanted. And then we would have had to hope for a miracle that we would have went out and got Isak. Now, Newcastle have seen Liverpool's hand by them saying, we want one of them. Is Isak really up for grabs here, or is he not? Because if he's not, then we're going to make a move for Ekitike. And I think that by them doing this early in the transfer window, I think it benefits Newcastle. Because I think Newcastle are going to look at this and be like, we don't want to get rid of Isak. But if Isak's going to leave, we need to replace him. And their replacement was going to be in the form of Ekitike. I think it was smart. I have to be real. I think it was smart from both teams. I think both teams have put themselves into a position to where they can actually bring in a player of... These 2 players are so similar. Obviously, Newcastle and Liverpool would both prefer Alexander Isak because he's been proven in the Premier League. But if neither of them can get him or keep him, the other club's going to want to go for Ekitike. So we're putting all the cards out on the table, and it's like, Isak, do you want to come to Liverpool? If he says no, Liverpool are going to go in for Ekitike. And what does that do? That keeps Newcastle's star man in St. James's Park, and Liverpool are then able to go out and get another forward. Maybe we want to make a couple more deals, a couple more transfers this summer. But I think that if Liverpool are to swoop in and get Isak, then obviously Newcastle can join in the Ekitike race. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, who knows how it's going to pan out over the next couple of days. I think Newcastle have basically villainified, if you will, Alexander Isak by saying he's not for sale. So now if he goes to Liverpool, it's going to be entirely on his own doing. And it's just going to make him look bad amongst the Newcastle fans because the club wanted to keep him. It was his decision to leave. I think Newcastle have been moving very smart, as have Liverpool, but we'll see how the remainder of this thing pans out. Okay, that is basically the Isak and Ekitike story. I wish I could cover this a little more, to be honest with you, but at a certain point, I've seen it so much all over social media. It gets to a certain point where you have to. It's done. We know what it is. Moving on. We're going to go to a rumor that's been going around Ibrahima Konate to Real Madrid. And this topic, Konate to Real Madrid has been something that I have seen for a while now. I feel as though once the Trent situation kind of got taken care of, I think it pretty much at that point, and once we knew that Trent was definitely going to Real Madrid, from there on out, the rumors about Ibrahima Konate, in my opinion, had just started to swirl. I think, look, if it was up to me, I would want to keep Ibu Konate at Liverpool. But at the end of the day, if he wants to leave, I don't want him to pull a Trent. I don't want him to run out the remainder of his contract and then he's going to leave on a free. If we're going to just lose him next season, can we sell him and get some money for him? And this is just going to be how Real Madrid move from now on, to where Real Madrid are going to see a guy on 2 years and they're going to say, that's nice. You're going to run 1 year out. There's going to be 1 year left, and we're going to engage with you when you have that 1 year left on your contract. That's going to be how Real Madrid moves from now on. And you can see that's what I feel a lot of people like myself are worried about when it comes to Ibu Konate, is that it's case in point them just being like, hey, we're going to try to swoop in like we did with Trent, get him on a free, put him on an 8-year deal, now nobody can have him. And if that's going to happen after this season, can we just get rid of him now? Because I'd rather get... Even if we got $40 million for him or something like that, like, I'll take it. $40 million, 1 year left on his contract, I'll take it. But what's pissing me off about this is it seems as though Konate has been given basically the same thing that Trent was, to where it was, hey, we're offering you a contract, and he just isn't going to take it. He's just not looking to re-sign with Liverpool, which, in a lot of respects, you have to take a step back and say, hey, if you don't want to re-sign with Liverpool, nobody can make you. But when the culture of football, whether it be Kylian Mbappe or Trent Alexander-Arnold, the culture just becomes run your contract down when Real Madrid become interested, because then Real don't have to spend any money. It's frustrating. And I mean, I'll be honest, I get it. It's the biggest club in the world, but just watching them in the Club World Cup, I haven't been that impressed with Real Madrid. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. The Ibu Konate one for me has just been frustrating. I don't want to see him go, but I also look at it from the perspective of, if you're just going to leave now. I don't need to do this nonsense like they did with Trent, to where we're just going to carry this on for longer than we need to. If you're going to leave, just leave. It is what it is. And another one that it's, if you're going to leave, please just leave, is Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich. Another rumor that's been out. Now, the difference between this and the Konate one is, to my understanding, the Konate one, he's just been it's just been rumored that they've began talking, and that's what makes it seem like it could go next season. Whereas the Luis Diaz one, that could happen this transfer window. That like it's a genuine thing where Luis Diaz could be going to Bayern Munich. Pretty random one. I think I always saw Luis Diaz, and I think it's just because rumors from previous seasons. I always saw Luis Diaz going to like a Barcelona if he was going to leave Liverpool, and you know, I don't know. I think that when it comes down to like the great South Americans who have played for Liverpool, Luis Suarez, Phil Coutinho, these guys, when they left Liverpool, they left for big money and they went to Barcelona. I felt like that was kind of, you know, when it comes to these star-studded South American players, when Barcelona or even Real Madrid come knocking, it's hard to say no. But Bayern Munich, I wonder often when I've seen this rumor that he could be going to Bayern, for me, what immediately came into my mind is, oh, Slot maybe has had conversations that he's not just like a definite starter at Liverpool going into next season, that his job could be up for jeopardy. Obviously, we've signed Wirtz, who plays as an attacking midfielder, but he's also played off of the left wing as well. And then you obviously have Cody Gakpo, who towards especially the tail end of last season was really, really coming into his own. I think last season, Gakpo, it's sort of, you realized Gakpo's not a center forward, he's a left winger. And you really started to see him come into his own. And then when you add in the fact that obviously Wirtz's preferred position will be as number 10. But if he can play as a left wing, and if there's a possibility that he would be playing off the left, that just creates additional competition for Luis Diaz. And I wonder if him going to Bayern Munich, there's more of it being definitive that he'll start regularly. And you're gonna win trophies if you go to Bayern Munich. Like you're probably gonna win the Bundesliga. I mean, that's why Harry Kane went to Bayern Munich, so they could win trophies. Which I don't know if that's necessarily what Diaz is looking for. The reason I'm more frustrated with the Konate situation than the Luis Diaz one, though, is the Luis Diaz story. The Luis Diaz rumors come about every single transfer window. Literally every single transfer window, we get a rumor that Luis Diaz might be going to... I think it was either the beginning of last season or the one previously, that it was like right before the transfer deadline, there was a rumor that Diaz was going to go to City. And everyone was freaking out for about like 2 hours, and then it got basically publicized that wasn't the truth, and that actually... Diaz was going to remain at Liverpool. So I do have to say that I often when it comes to Luis Diaz, question, hey, is this true, or is this actually just a complete and utter fallacy, you know? And then when it comes to Liverpool, you can't tell me. I mean, look at these first three topics that I have on the show today. When it comes down to it, all three of them are effectively about Liverpool. Obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan, but these are the biggest news currently. This is the biggest news currently going on with transfers this summer. Currently, Isak and Ekitike are probably the two biggest. You know, it's Liverpool really are just dominating the transfer rumors, the transfer news. If we go out and spend $120 million on Alexander Isak along with the other signings that we've made, man, it's gonna be one hell of a season. I've seen so many people joking around, basically saying if Liverpool just get Isak, there's no point in watching the season because they're probably just gonna win the lot. Will we win the lot? I don't know. I definitely would hope that if we sign Isak, that we're going to obviously, win some sort of trophies. But I'll tell you who isn't going to win any trophies is Manchester United, who have been absolutely terrible this transfer window. Obviously, the signing of Cunha from Wolves was a great signing for United, but outside of that, it's been poor. It has. It's been poor from United. Let's be real. I don't think the Brian and Mbeumo one for me is maybe the most concerning because it's been rumored for months now that United should be in for Brian and Mbeumo, but there's been absolutely no movement whatsoever. I don't know why he hasn't been brought in yet. Now we're seeing rumors at United of them being interested in the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, when it comes down to it, United just finished 15th. They're building a brand new stadium. And all of these other clubs, a lot of these other clubs are making, we're talking about Liverpool. A lot of these other clubs are making changes at strength. It's easier to improve on already a good ship. But if your ship's sinking, you need to get reinforcements. You need to build depth within this United team. And I think Cunha has been a great signing. But if you're going into this upcoming season with Højlund and with Xerxes supposed to be the strikers for Manchester United, for me, that's just, you can't be doing that. Cannot be doing that. I think the Mbeumo deal should go through based on everything that I've read, everything that I've seen. But it's still concerning, I think. Because once we're going to get into August, which is not that far away, it's about 2 weeks away. Once we get into August, that's when the deals are going to get a little crazy, and that's when they're going to start moving pretty quickly. And United, if they don't have the changes that they need to make by the end of July, I think they're just going to get bullied around in August. Because it's bad enough that United finished 15th. That's awful to their standards. But we all know this. What's worse is the fact that United haven't looked to make any real changes, and we're just gonna try again. Like I don't. We're gonna sign Cunha. Signing Cunha is not gonna fix the entire problem. It could help. But it's not gonna fix the entire problem. You have Onana in goal. You know what I mean? You're also losing players. Rashford's going to leave. Garnacho's going to leave. So you're losing players. And I don't know if United are just waiting to lose those players for them to then use whatever profit that they make from the transfers to bring in other signings. But it makes you honestly wonder what's going on behind the scenes at United, that this is how they're moving. It's, I don't know. If you're a United fan, I apologize. Like, literally, just off the top of my head, right? I've already named all the Liverpool signings. They've made a ton. You have the likes of City, who have brought in Nori, Cherky. I believe there's one other. I'm just not able to think off the top of my head. You have Arsenal, who are signing Noni Madueke from Chelsea, Gyökeres from Sporting. They've already brought in, what's his name? The holding midfielder, the Spanish guy. So those are 3 signings. God, that's going to kill me that I forgot that guy's name. But Chelsea have brought in João Pedro, who already has made a severe impact, and they've won the Club World Cup. And then on top of that, Spurs has brought in Mohamed Kudus. So all of these teams have made, all in the Big Six, so to speak, all of these teams have made drastic improvements, but United have only made one signing, and then there's been a rumored signing that they've essentially just been sitting on for some time. I don't get it. I obviously don't want to see United do well, but I also don't understand, from an unbiased perspective and being someone who just likes the sport, likes football, likes the Premier League, seeing a team that's in the Big Six move like this in the transfer window. All of these other teams are making these changes and making these improvements because they're looking to compete next season. And then you even look at the likes of Tottenham. They've made changes because they were bad last year outside of the Europa League, and they're looking to improve. United seem to just not they're making these changes early in the transfer window so that they don't have to focus in August on backs against the wall. We got to make some moves. But that's the state of Manchester United currently. It's very interesting. You look at the topics I brought up today, and Liverpool are on top and United are in the mud. That's a very, very different world from what I grew up in, man. I'll tell you what. When I was growing up, Liverpool were struggling and United were just on top of the world. And to see the dichotomy of those two situations, to see how United have fallen is pretty outrageous. Pretty outrageous. I'm going to be dropping off the stream here. Looks like we had a light group join us today. That's all right. If anyone is online with me, drop something in the chat if there's a topic you want me to cover before I hop off here. Otherwise, I am going to wrap it up. Probably put out another video at some point this week. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that one. Obviously, follow me on Twitter. Follow me on TikTok. Both of those links are down below in the description as well. All right.